Hello, Akira here, and welcome to my second attempt at Conquest of Elysium 4. If you didn't see my first attempt, I played as a demonologist, and it ended somewhat abruptly. I won't spoil it for you, but I will say when summoning demon hordes from the pits of hell, one should take some precautions, and I did not. So there was a good lesson learned there. It was my first attempt at the game and any of the Conquest of Elysium games, so I wasn't too disappointed that it ended quickly. My expectations were pretty low, but I did have a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this game. So I'm looking forward to giving this another shot, and hopefully I can do a little bit better because I'm a little bit more familiar with how the game works. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and play on a medium map today. I played on small last time, but it might be nice to sort of have a little bit more room to explore and move around. I am going to play as the Enchanter. And if you don't know what that is, an Enchanter is sort of, in my mind, kind of like a Tinkerer. He sort of creates these, not necessarily mechanical devices, but he sort of sculpts these sort of items and then enchants them and brings them to life. Think of like the Beauty and the Beast, the cups and the teapots and stuff like that. And so in my mind, I always like to sort of create some sort of lore around the way I play. And the Enchanter would sort of, I think, fit well in the industrial sort of era here, the Empire era, because he sort of, like I said, strikes me as a tinkerer, and he might have a shop and have sort of developed his skills that way. And that seems to just would fit well here rather than, the darker agricultural ages. So that's what we're going to choose, as opposed to the agricultural, which I played last time. So something that I think is going to be different, that I'm looking forward to experiencing is... of course, the Empire is a little bit more developed. There's going to be more colonies, maybe more towns, maybe bigger towns, less sort of bandits roaming the countryside because there's a policing force. That policing force has new technology. And, of course, there's less forest because they've been cut down to sort of, feed the industry. But what I'm really looking forward to is a great capital city is being built on the map. And I have no idea what to really expect with that. But I'm sort of looking forward to conquering it with my sort of giant creatures that I've enchanted. So that should be fun. And other than that, I think, we're good to go. We're just going to go ahead and keep the score graph on just in case I want to take a peek at how things are going. And I'm not going to play with an ally, so that does not matter. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the class I've chosen as the Enchanter here. So, very different than the Demonologist for sure. So without reading through all of this, as interesting as it is, essentially the Enchanter sort of creates these constructs, and they're sort of mechanical, magical mechanical creatures. What's different about them is they're sort of very expensive. There are some very expensive ones anyway that have lots of HP, but they're very expensive to construct, and I won't get very many of them because I think they sort of consume resources as well. And so there are some lesser constructs, of course, but what I'm kind of looking for here is probably smaller armies with that are sort of more powerful. And so that will definitely have to be approached a little bit different than sort of like spawning massive demon hordes that have like 5, 6 HP or 3 HP imps and stuff like that. So it's sort of on the other spectrum if you want to think of it that way. Constructs don't heal, so that's something I'll have to sort of consider and keep an eye on how my constructs are taking damage and replace them as needed, and sort of think about how that's going to affect my strategy. And probably lastly, and maybe most importantly, it's going to be the fact that gold and iron are my only resources. So in my previous game playing as the Demonologist, I had sacrifices as sort of a third resource. And that split up the way I could sort of buy regular units, my swordsmen and my, crossbowmen and such. And then, those sacrifices went straight towards performing rituals. So sort of two different economies there. In this situation, I'm going to be purchasing all of my units with these two resources. I'm going to have to find a balance between that. And, if there's sort of a standard... limit of these on the map, then I'm going to have to sort of expand as quickly as I can because my resources are something that everybody is using. So that's going to be important. Though, something else to consider is since my sort of troops are very expensive, it's going to be hard to start up as well because I'm sure I'm not going to be able to afford, at least in great quantity, much in the beginning. So might be a slow start, but we'll see. So there's the Enchanter. Let's give him a sort of... industrial, maybe leather apron color. Excuse me. Okay, now again, sort of like I mentioned, I like to sort of create my own little lore and make imagine sort of the world that I'm playing in, and I would like to think why an enchanter would sort of want to rise up and conquer the world. And again, I think the senator is sort of the best antithesis that I can sort of think of, like the opposite of what the tinker would be. I think he would impose regulations and taxes, and that's something my enchanter just wouldn't enjoy. And I think to a point, maybe they might even try to outlaw his type of magic. And so I'm going to set the senator as enemy number one. And as much as I really played on Butler last time, and I sort of wanted to do it again because I like the challenge, but I'm told that essentially that just sort of gives the AI, lets them cheat a little bit. So what they'll probably just do is I'll just face bigger armies and more powerful armies, and so as much as I sort of would like to, I'm going to try Jester because I am new at the game. The last game was fairly quick, so maybe I should sort of come down a little bit on that. Okay, so enemy number two, I sort of want to be in contrast to the senator here. And another reason I sort of like the senator's enemy is they're sort of always like the baseline human, at least in the Dominion games. Like they have legionnaires or, pikesmen or spearmen or something like that. And they're decently powerful, but they're pretty much like the most mediocre race there is. Decent magic, decent infantry, but nothing really spectacular. So on the opposite end of that, I think like the Troll King could be a lot of fun. And I imagine in this sort of scenario, they're pretty angry that humanity is sort of taking over Elysium and are going to sort of make one final one final like push to sort of like get them out. And this is like their final stand. And trolls, of course, I think have to be green, right? And I think, let's see, do I want to do a third? Let me just look around and see if we can find something that might be fun. It might be fun to sort of put like a super weak race, like the barbarians. That's great. Let's do like barbarians. Maybe someone who has sort of like resisted, like industry, and they're just sort of like uncultured and stuff like that. Basically plebs, if you want to sort of think of them that way. Let's give them like a red, and let's put them down to like piss boy, and maybe we will sort of get to like run over them or something like that. But or maybe not if we don't encounter them, but that's always sort of fun to just sort of like mix things up a little bit. I think that's good to go. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click OK and get the world created here. And I think we're going to name our sort of hero here Roboticus. Is that how you would spell that? Roboticus. Yes, Roboticus, the great Roboticus. And I imagine many millennia from now, when sort of like real robots exist, they will have been named after the great Roboticus, sort of the world's first tinkerer. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and just pause it briefly here, and now they've got it started, and then we'll get the game going, and we'll see how it looks when I start. So we'll see in a bit. Okay, we've got the game started, and we're ready to start playing. We did not get an initial offer, so you're sort of probably used to seeing that, so that did not come up, which is fine because we can never afford it anyway. But let's go ahead and before we look too much into our characters and such, let's take a look at our surroundings here. So right off the bat, what I'm sort of liking is this port here, which is sort of very valuable to trade for gold. Unfortunately, it's heavily guarded, and I'm not going to be able to look at all those range units. So I'm almost going to need sort of like siege equipment, or maybe sort of like giant creatures, before I even attempt to take this on, because those guys will just decimate my forces if I just sit here and sort of try to crash these gates, which aren't that strong, but it does take time, and definitely not something I'm going to be able to do right off the bat. But right here we have a little coastal hamlet. And that's all I can see. A bunch of jungle and a couple of little creatures. So, of course, first couple moves, we're going to get as much gold we can, and explore as much as we can, and hopefully get some resources, so we can get this port as quickly as we can. So, with that said, let's sort of take a look at our classes' like special abilities here. At least our main guys here, and that's Roboticus the Enchanter. So we have two rituals, of course, level 1 and level 2, which we can get more of if we spend some gold. And so right now, these are all sort of grayed out, and I can't use any of them. But the sculpting, the terracotta soldier, which they say is only possible in swamps or bogs, I sort of just, make something out of mud and enchant it. So unfortunately, unless I see a swamp over here, I can't do anything. It's basically free. It just takes time. So that could be sort of nice if I come across a swamp. I could probably spam these pretty easily, and that would be fun. And then here I sort of envision like our main arsenal, at least not the main, but they're going to be like the foundation of our armies is these golems, which are essentially like giant creatures. Some bigger than the others. Each one is made out of wood, stone, ice, or clay, and again, you need to be in a certain place before you can sort of create those. And so the good news is the jungle next to me will be a great resource for the wood golems. I will note that when I do create the wood golem, this will be consumed. So once you use this area up for that purpose, it's gone and done for. So in that sense, it is sort of a non-renewable resource. So with the wood golems, obviously that's not too bad. There's plenty of forest usually, but these clay golems use swamps and bogs. I think that would use that up as well. I'm sure. But these the coal mine actually disappears when you create the stone golem. So you would essentially lose, I think, like 1 gold or 1 iron per turn, and maybe gold. I can't remember if it produces gold. We'll see. Well, let's take a look. Yeah, so if I use this coal mine to create that coal golem, or the stone one, that's gone. So, like, even if I could create it right now, that would not be a good idea. I definitely want to get some mines that I can sort of do away with and probably establish like a strong trade before I really attempt at that. So, okay. So let's also look at sort of our unique character abilities here. Fire resistance, which sort of grants, a small little area to my soldiers to help them resist fire. The fire shield I really like, because what a fire shield does is when a unit takes a hit, that fire shield gives damage to the attacker. So, you can be pretty powerful. And Soldiers of Flame is sort of just the bigger version of that. So, that can be a quite powerful because you're essentially during your defensive sort of round, you're actually dealing damage, and that can be quite useful. And I imagine it does fire damage, so probably wouldn't be useful against. No, it doesn't say just magic. It does magic damage. So, it would have tried to penetrate magic resistance there. So we'll have to keep an eye and see how that's sort of effective against different sorts of beings and such. And Thunder Ward just essentially gives a shock resistance to my troops. Actually, it just says it's magic. So maybe that, we'll have to keep an eye if that just does fire damage or just general damage. I assume fire. That sort of makes sense. So I like to read these. These are actually kind of fun and plays into my lore a little bit. Many consider the Enchanter to be a combination of craftsman, artist, and charlatan, rather than a true mage. He forms objects by hand and then tricks them to start moving around when the object has started, when the object has started moving. It will never go back to being an inanimate object again. If enchanters were allowed to spread, Elysium would soon be thrown into chaos with ordinary objects trying to take the place of the living and not staying still like they are supposed to. Even if the Enchanter is not a respected mage, you should be probably wary of his creations. A walking iron mine is just as hard to destroy as you might imagine. So, again, that sort of really makes sense of why the trolls would want me to be destroyed in sort of their forests. The senators like, hey, man, stop creating these little magical teacups that can't really sing that well and whatnot. So, okay, probably enough talking. Actually, one more thing. Let's look at our units we can recruit. So one very big thing to notice is how expensive my basic units are. As the demonologist, these were 25 gold. And so not only is my gold and iron being split amongst everything I'm creating, these are very expensive to create. So, as of this point, I can't even sort of replenish my ranks for more than 10 turns. So it's going to be imperative that I sort of expand as quickly as I can. So with that said, let's look at my second commander. Oh man, that's a hard one. Let's call him. Oh man, that's going to be a hard one. I think maybe we're going to keep the H silent. Lodowig? Let's call him Lodowig. Yeah, that's not at all how I pronounce it. That's probably not at all correct, I should say, but that's the best I can do. Far more complicated than Roboticus. So Ludowig? Oh man, I got to think of it. Let's call him Luo for short. Just Lou. Let's call him Lou. That'd be easier because I'll just fumble over that forever. Let's look at his sort of thing. Okay, fire resistance, which is, good, but against only sort of one type of thing. And toughness, which is good because it sort of gives them resistance to sort of nasty, sharp, heavy things, which is going to be good against the senator here. But more importantly, his special powers are, again, terracotta soldier. So I can't do anything right now magically, so it might be worth it to sort of give Roboticus here, see what we can sort of roll the dice and see what else we can get. Something maybe a little bit more useful. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. So right away, I'm just seeing that it's inexpensive, which is nice. It does take a whole turn, but it only costs 1 iron. So that's something I can sort of spam these out each turn. So let's look at them. A sword that is enchanted with this ritual will become alive, almost. It will float in the air and obey simple orders from the enchanter, blah, blah, blah. So it can only be cast inside of this fortified citadels where there are sort of like weapons cached and stuff like that. So Roboticus is going to go ahead and use that special power. And if you're wondering why I'm going to be able to do this, sort of your action points can sort of bleed over into the next turn to a certain point if you have some. So I did use 3. Next turn he will only have 2. So that would like sort of limit his movement if we try to move next turn. But I'm not planning on moving him now, so that's fine. And we're going to transfer the units to Lou over here. I did learn that handy double click sort of selects all of the same kind of unit, which is nice. And of course, Lou is going to head down to the coastal hamlet here and give these guys a run for their money. I probably should have looked first. This is actually, you know, they're sort of weak, but they're large in numbers, and I have to be very careful because this is all I got for a while. So I could stagnate pretty quickly if I sort of lost them. So with that said, let's go ahead and end turn and see how this battle goes. I'm excited to see how this guy does. Oh yeah. So that's sort of he only has 1 HP. He has a high armor value, like decently high anyway. So like, well, I'm surprised that sling actually. I think he has an armor of 4 if I remember. So I'm surprised that sling was able to penetrate. I think there are like critical hits and stuff. I'm not sure how that works. If you know how sort of the dice rolls work, go ahead and comment below. I would love to sort of see how that works. But with that high armor value, these guys have a low chance of sort of doing much damage, which is nice. Let's go ahead and speed this up a little bit. There we go. So luckily these guys do heal, and so that's nice because that's all I got. So but we'll have to be sort of careful about choosing the battles that we take on. Fire Ant. Okay, so these guys are relatively weak. We have to sort of be careful because they have armor negating acid spray, and so it armor negating there. So we'll have to sort of watch that. But just because there are bigger ones that are have good HP and better armor, and they can be actually quite dangerous in numbers. So, but for now, oh, you know what? I should have taken that. I totally missed this little coastal hamlet. Let's move Roboticus there, and then back. I'll go ahead and give up a sword there in that move, but now at least I'm producing 7 gold, which is going to help me because I'm going to need to probably buy some crossbowmen as soon as I can because I don't have enough essentially. So let's go ahead and cancel that turn. Or end that turn. Oops, okay. I apologize if you hear slurping. I'm trying to mute my mic when I take a sip of my coffee. Okay, yep, there's that armor negating acid, but they're so weak that essentially they do damage. But I'm down to 2 crossbowmen, and ranged units are nice. So, let's look here. So I think I'm going to go ahead and try to save up for some more crossbowmen because, you know, they're actually pretty powerful early game on. They do good damage. They got, you know, decent range, good range for early game, and they're sort of nice to have those early on. So that's what I'm going to save up for next. But let's go ahead and move through this forest and see if we can find some sort of magic creating or iron or gold creating things or some magical places or something like that. I forgot to use his special power to animate a sword. I'm going to go ahead and actually wait on that and let that get to 5. Actually, let that get to, 5, and then make sure I have enough for when I'm building my crossbowmen. So let's move out of the forest, which won't take me into nothing but more forest. Okay. 1 more iron to go. There we go. What is that guy? A goblin. Okay. That's no big deal. End turn. Can't afford anything right now, of course. Let's go ahead and take this guy out so he doesn't pester my little hamlet there. Excellent. Okay. I got 5 iron, so let me think about this. I think I have to wait one. If I use one now, I'll have 4. Yeah, I'll go ahead and create a sword just because I guess it doesn't really matter right now. Oops, I forgot I gotta use this guy. Special power to animate sword. There we go. So yeah, the whip is good to notice. 4 armor, which is, you know, decent as far as armor goes, but only 1 hit point. So any attack that penetrates the armor and actually causes any damage, these guys are done for. So they're sort of only useful in numbers and in certain situations. Definitely very powerful against something like this mantis, where they can sort of all attack him and he can only attack like 2 things at once, or maybe even just 1 thing at once. I'm not sure. But you know, against like a whole army or anything that does high attack, has a high attack value, they're sort of only getting to last like 1 or 2 turns. So okay, let's go look at this guy. My crossbowman should eliminate him instantly there. Perfect. Winter is here. Okay, let's look at this mantis. He does have high HP and a pretty decent attack, but let's go after the elk first. Sort of get him out of the way. Just sort of protecting my little hamlet here because I don't want to lose gold. It's pretty precious at this point. Okay, we're going to go ahead and have Roboticus here. Create another little sword. And then I'm probably going to try to get another lesser ritual for him as well as my sub-commander. Just to see what other options there are. Because I don't have a lot of really... I don't have a good ability to sort of create forces at this point. Okay, that should be fairly quick. Thank you, elk. Essentially hunting there. Okay. Don't really need a scout right now. Not that sort of scout. I would like another. Ooh, so here's a different plane. So I've actually never really explored much about how the planes work in this game. This is going to be new to me. Plane is a demonologist. I know that I sort of ran into a vampire, and I sort of figured that maybe if the way it described him, if I entered another plane and killed him from there, he might be permanently dead. And I know some sort of objects exist on multiple planes, like pyramids, for example, and sort of creatures can take advantage of that. So I think moving into this, like I'll see if I can even move into it, but it might be worth exploring, but I want to be very careful because this is my only army right now. And it might just be the edge of the map, and that's something else, so we'll see. Okay, but what I can do is recruit some more crossbowmen to my capital there. And I'm going to sort of swing these guys back around. Actually, what I'll do, since this is going to be so quick, I'll just move them back quickly to get those crossbowmen, and it'll make me a little bit more powerful. Oh, a meteor has struck down in the mountains, leaving only a smoking crater. So, okay, so maybe I should explore that. Like, I should go back and get my crossbowmen. And we're going to head and transfer those units to Lou there. Go ahead and take those swords with me. And Roboticus, since we're there, is going to animate sword. Perfect. So we'll take those 3 swords with us and our new crossbowman, and we're going to go sort of, maybe we can check out this meteor site and see if it's going to be beneficial to us. Cool. Although, you know, let's make sure these guys, are they amphibious? They are not. Oh yeah, those are the same thing. So that would be sort of, we got to be careful. Those amphibious sort of creatures can sort of bother you. So let's move Lou up here. And I'm just going to sort of experiment with how this plane... Oh, wait. Maybe that was just... That's weird. It's not a... Oh, it's a plane. Oh, my God. How embarrassing. Wrong sort of plane. Spelled differently. Oh, that's sort of embarrassing, guys. That makes much more sense. There's a meteor there. I got really excited for a second. That was just sort of unexplored area. Either way, it's worth exploring the meteorite. I apologize for that. I've just started drinking my coffee, so the brain is still a little bit slow. So this sort of give us a good, is that going to be gold there? It's not. Sort of a good reason to go up here and sort of explore this area. I have to be careful because I'm not really doing any sort of exploring that's going to be economically valuable to me, because if I do get something up here, I can take it over quickly, but I don't have any ability to defend it. let's go ahead on that note. Go ahead and give Roboticus a new ritual here to see if we can get something a little bit better than this sword, even if it is more expensive. Cool, Flesh Golem. So Golem basically takes 5 random corpses, stitches them together, and 1 large humanoid being is enchanted. It's quick and inexpensive, but not nearly as powerful as Golems made out of more solid materials, can be cast anywhere. So it does need corpses. And so I think basically, actually, can I sense corpses? Yes. So Roboticus can sort of sense corpses here, and the cool thing about those is, as I'm battling, like for example, I come and destroy these guys. Oh, that would be great if I should see if I can get him that power. But I'm sorry, I can essentially raise the dead and have them fight for me again at a 5-to-1 ratio. Meaning that, like, for every 5 people that I kill, or even my guys that are killed, I can create 1 golem, which is sort of a sort of way to recoup your losses. Okay, let's go ahead and take those guys out. Oh, I can't. Next turn. Perfect. I'll have to keep an eye, make sure nothing sort of creeps up on my territory here. Okay, there's the mountains. I'm gonna go ahead and take this old battlefield. Okay, so these are undead here. Gosh, it might be worth it. They have a large attack, but no hit points and no armor. So let's see if we can't get Lou here that ability next turn. End turn. Okay. All right, come here, Lou. Let's use your special power. Let's give you this. Let's hope we can get the corpse power. Dang. Well, it might be worth it to sort of try a little bit. That's a lot. It's not too expensive until I can sort of get that power, because that would be great for Lou, and to sort of be able to replenish my coffers. Let's go ahead and take this. Those guys should be relatively easy to destroy. There we go. Let's keep Roboticus sort of cranky. Oh, let's do these. Let's see what these guys look like. Excellent. Okay, so I love that. Lots of hit points. That's perfect for sort of what I need right now is people to absorb hits from things. Just your typical sort of zombie creature with a pretty weak attack, though. I'm not really sure what that means there. I mean, I know how, this is damage. There's a chance for a +4 hit. I'm not sure how that works. Anyway, we'll see. We'll watch him in combat and see how he sort of behaves and try to get an idea about how that works. Let's go ahead and end these guys. So good. These guys can't penetrate the armor of these swords because they're very weak. So in this situation, these swords are sort of great. Okay. Though if I remember in Dominions, the way the dice rolls worked, like any creature sort of always has a chance to hit. And it might be like sort of astronomically high, but there's always a chance. And so that might be the case here too. Oh my god, the senator's been eliminated. Slain by the Independents, the map killed. Well, that's sort of disappointing. That kind of happens a lot in this game. I've sort of played just a few little quick games to sort of make myself a little bit better, but that happens frequently. So I don't know if I would consider that a bug, but it's a little disappointing because the senator sort of is my nemesis, and I was looking forward to killing him. So I won't get a chance to do that. But we can. Can't do that special power yet. I'll come back and try to hit up that village if I can get Lou that power to sort of raise the dead. It's not really raising the dead, actually. He's sort of like Frankensteining them. There's a difference there. I'm not sure if their souls are not intact. We're just sort of using their body. Oh no, I've been ambushed as spare parts. Okay. All right, Roboticus, use special power, create flesh golem. No dead corpses. But there'll be dead corpses here. There certainly will. Perfect. We'll go there. Create some dead corpses. And hopefully this ambush is not too sort of devastating to us. Let's see. Oh yeah, just little sort of like forest creatures. Ouch. What was that? Stunned? Okay, this guy has like some stun magic he uses, but no match for my crossbow to the eyes. Done for there. Okay, magic or not, an arrow in your head is never a good thing. Okay, let's make a quick move to this crater, and hopefully it sort of gives us something really valuable. Nothing so far. I thought maybe there might be like gems here or something. Or apprentice, crater. Is that it? I mean, there's got to be something there, right? Maybe something my race can exploit. Well, we'll just go ahead and end the turn and see if that helps. That was sort of a waste of time. Well, crap. Well, let's get Roboticus creating some more golems. Perfect. Can we do it again? Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's do it as many times as we can. I think I'm out of, no action points left. Does he still sense the dead? Slight presence. We'll see if that's enough to do anything with. On that note, let's go ahead and take Lou here and give him a special power again. Awesome. Create flesh golem. So, at the very least, this won't be wasted because I can sort of backtrack and try to like reanimate the dead and sort of beef up my army. Now, just from my experience here, I'm going to try to get a second commander sort of quickly as I can because I've noticed that I sort of have a tendency to clump my armies together, and it is sort of helpful to, one, get the map explored, and have a secondary force to sort of do some patrolling. So although it seems a little early, I'm going to try that. So I'm going to go ahead and cross these mountains, and that's unfortunate. It doesn't even sort of give you a description about what that's going to be. So let me know if you know of what good craters are sort of for. I'd be happy to explore that properly, but now I can't. So these guys are fairly powerful, and they do have, well, they don't have a trample, which is nice. But we want to be careful with them. Actually, you know what? I forgot. I need to come back this way and sort of reanimate the dead and stuff. And actually, God, if I could take over that old battlefield, let's do that. That would give me tons of golems, I think. Wait. Oh, that's my guys. Yeah, okay, never mind. I was like, those guys were super powerful. Okay, but that's my dudes. Okay, so next turn. After, is he spent? Yes, okay. And then I forgot, I got to try to come back and take this port eventually, but right now it's still way out of my league here. Okay, Roboticus can use his special power. That's good. Can we do it again? Nope, no action points left. Okay, I took a movement penalty in the mountains there, so I'm moving quite slow. But I'm going to come here to that old battlefield and take those guys on. And I think, was I ambushed here? Yes, I was. So I'll come back here too and try to reanimate the dead there and there. I think that's right anyway. I can't afford a captain yet. Let's go ahead and move you back to the capital. Okay. Move you there. Can't do a whole lot right now because I'm out of action points. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and turn. Okay, winter's here, so I'll take another movement penalty. Interesting that here's the snow, so I'm sort of in the south. Like, I'm not sure if this is sort of geographically accurate, but that might let me know that maybe this is the end of the map and the majority of the map's up here, and I'm not sort of just like on this like inland lake or something like that. Let's just double check these guys. There's a lot of them. I must be very wary of that. And they're amphibian, mindless, banishable, pierce resistant. So I'll have to be careful of that. My arrows aren't going to be that effective. Never heals, charm, sleep, undead, poison. Okay, so nothing sort of crazy other than pierce resistant. So let's go ahead and take them on and sort of hope that they give me fuel for my reanimation machine. that I've sort of created, I'll assume. There was nothing there. Let's do a few more swords. For sure, because, if you're just going to have one or two, they're sort of useless. You might as well have, like, 4 or 5 or 6, I think. And then we'll consider giving him another ritual. Once we can afford it. Let's go ahead and end the turn and try to conquer the undead here. Yeah, so they're pierce resistant, so that's going to be... my crossbowmen are going to be meh. But they don't do a whole lot of damage, so hopefully my armor sort of negates most of their attacks. I have to be careful that these guys are going to flank and get my crossbowmen. Oh, wow. So I'm taking a fair amount of damage here. Up in my front lines. Fire resistance. That doesn't do a whole lot of good right now, does it, Lou? But we don't have a whole lot of other option. Luck's really nice. Skill to have. There we go. So hopefully, even though these guys have sort of taken some losses here, hopefully I'll make up for it with the ability to sort of raise some golems. All these guys aren't really fleshly. They're just bones, but we'll see. Okay, so defeated them. Oh, and Lou found a magic item. It was a fire brand. Let's see what that does. Oops. Does Lou get it? Where's Lou? There he is. Oh, brand. Oh, he's got a new weapon. It does 1 to 7 damage, and it does fire damage. Has a burst effect, extra effect once target is hit. So it hits and does damage, and then does. That's quite powerful. So if he strikes, there's a potential to do some major damage there. So he has that now instead of his hammer, which again, we hope he doesn't use that much. So not a great sort of character to have that. I'd almost prefer it in like the hands of a hero or something. But nonetheless, I won't complain too much. Let's go ahead and see if hopefully we can create flesh golems. Yes. Excellent. So hopefully this sort of battlefield offers us a good sort of resource. And as soon as I'm finished there, I will go take this farm and swing back down. I need to get some more resources going here quickly as I can. Special power. Let's go ahead and learn another ritual. I'm going to do that rather than save up my gold for another round of sort of units. It would be nice to have another go at some crossbowmen. But I think I can wait on that, and sort of because I can sort of raise things from the dead, that's going to sort of help fill my ranks. So that's going to buy me some time, and I can sort of focus on building up my sort of second army down here. So second ritual, animate armor. Fantastic. So same thing, I think. Yep. Can only be cast here, but a little bit more expensive for sure. So let's go ahead and just try it and see what they look like. Okay, so that's awesome. I sort of figured it might... I thought the armor would just be like the sword, like it can't cause damage. It's sort of like a wall that just sort of absorbs hits. But I'm actually sort of impressed. This is sort of like a decent character. So causes more damage than my swordsman. Has, I think, better armor than my swordsman. I think they just have 2. And definitely more hit points. For no gold, but twice the iron. So sort of a trade-off there. I might consider them a little bit more expensive than... Well, of course, I just get one of them, so the swordsmen are a lot cheaper. You would get 50 hit points worth of... no, you'd only get 25 hit points worth, or 6 times... Something, I can't remember what their hit points are. But anyway, not bad. Better than sort of swords that just float around and die in one hit. So they'll be nice for a while. Okay. Roboticus, all done. And turn. Okay. Let's use his special power. Oh, that's disappointing. Just one? I guess bones don't go very far. Well, let's go here. And we'll do that special power. I think we're going on close to 35-40 minutes here, so I'm going to take a break here in a second. Let's just take a look at Roboticus here. Let's just see what my army's looking like here. Yeah, could definitely use some bowmen, but we'll wait. Let's go ahead and do some more swords for now. I mean, it might be worth it to actually spend a little bit more money. And let's learn another skill. Oh, no action points left. We'll do it next turn. End turn. Okay. Captain for 47 gold, which we don't want. Oh, we're going to have to go kill that moose. Going to take over my hamlet. But first, we're going to use a special power. Oh, not enough. Was that maybe not where I was ambushed? Or maybe there was only 3 guys there. I think there'll be enough here in this hamlet, which I have to go to anyway. There we go. Got one more. Okay, so there's him. That's it. We'll see if this moose backs off. And we'll have to be cautious of these guys. They are amphibians. So slow start, which is okay. Sort of typical, I think, with this class, if I could say so myself. It's just everything's sort of expensive. So thank you for joining me. We'll go ahead and take a little pause here. I'm going to keep playing, so for you, you'll just have to watch the next video. If you have any comments or questions, or want to point out anything, I'm totally open to that. I'm by no means an expert in this game, and so I'd love to sort of see if you have some perspective on the dice rolls or the mechanics of the game, or if I'm missing something, or I can prove on something. I'm happy to sort of hear your words there. So thank you for joining me, and we'll see you for episode 2. I think we're going to call this Tales of Roboticus. I like that. Episode 2 of Tales of Roboticus. We'll see you there. I'll see you later.